Hello there, welcome to the EduFel. I am Dr. Niaz. Today we will discuss part 2 for proposal development. Now we will be going for the chapter number 1, that is introduction. As you can see in the slide, the first one is the title page. It depends on the university format for each university. So it's not a big issue, so it might not be discussed. I will be going to discuss the introduction. In introduction, we have to focus the three main themes. That is to introduce the research topic, to determine a research niche, place your research within the research niche. For example, if we are going to discuss the number 1, that is introduce the research topic, we might highlight the importance of the research field or topic we have already selected. Describe the background of the selected topic and present an overview of the current research on the topic. Number 2 is to determine a research niche, reveal a gap in existing research or oppose an existing assumption. Number 3, place your research within the research niche. State the purpose of your study. Highlight the key characteristics of your study. Highlight the novelty of the study. Offer a brief overview of the structure of the paper. In this slide, you can see, if you can recall the previous video, as we have already developed a model or conceptual framework. So I have pasted here for your recall. You can see that in the conceptual framework, the instruction leadership have its relationship with the school effectiveness, which should be to explore, and that is the school culture as a mediating variable and the demographic variables of the teachers. So first of all, according to the conceptual framework, we will introduce the next step will be to discuss the dependent variable. Here we have taken instruction leadership as independent variable, which might have its impact on school effectiveness. Similarly, as a next step, we have to discuss the school culture in the introduction section. According to the given framework, as I have already discussed in this video, those 3 points should be kept in mind for each and every variable we have in our conceptual framework. Similarly, in introduction section, first, as we give the number, that is 1.1 introduction into the chapter 1, at the last we will put the demographic variables of the teachers, and we have to discuss the demographic variables that we have to choose in our instrument for data collection. So it might be discussed at the end of this section. So the demographic variables will be also the part of the introduction section. So we have completed the introduction part of the first chapter. The chapter name is also introduction, but this part 1.1 section is also introduction, and we have discussed already. Now we will be going to the problem statement, which is a technical and important part of the research proposal or even the research thesis, because the proposal is also part of the research thesis. So the problem statement should be written very carefully. It is a technical part and very sensitive part of the research. In the problem statement, we should understand the research topic. First of all, we should understand the research topic, that what the title of the research states are. Number 2, that is identify the research gap. So it's the second number point is very important. We might give the research gap here, as we have already discussed in the selection of title in the previous video. the same research gap should be given here with the reference, which might show the necessity of the research to be conducted as you wish as per your title. Number 3, narrow down research problem. Here the holistic picture of the research problem should be discussed in a sensitive and very narrow form to make the readers understand and to show to get their interest. Number 4, formulate clear statement. Now we provide a clear statement of the research, that why we are going to conduct this research, what gap of the research and the literature review should motivate us. So number 5, to provide context and justification. For example, everywhere when we are going to conduct a research, we might also keep in mind the context. For example, if contextual there is need for that research, so we should go to conduct that research. If contextually there is some problems, for example, different countries have different religions, different customs, and so some research that may be very effective in some countries, but that might not be very effective and the benefit of the readers. So contextual justification is very important as in the last part of the research, the problem statement. The next part, as you can see 1.3 in the slide, that is to develop research objectives. It should be also developed very carefully and it should match with the research title. Different students develop their research objectives, but sometimes we can see that there is no relationship of the objectives to the research title. So be careful about this relationship. These objectives might be as per your research title and not something else. In this slide, look at the conceptual framework as we have already developed. You can see that in each arrow I have given objectives number. For example, instruction leadership and school effectiveness, this might be the objective 1. For the relationship between instruction leadership and school culture as shown in the form of arrow, that should be objective 2. And school culture and school effectiveness shown, the relationship is shown through an arrow, that might be the objective 3. And similarly, I have shown the holistic model and different arrows that circling the holistic model, that may be the 4th objective, showing the model fitness. So if we are going to conduct objectives, keep in mind the word to should be added at the beginning of each objective, and the following word might not be always the same. For example, you might not use always to identify, or to know. So it might be changed to avoid the repetition of the words. For example, I have given the objective number 1 as shown in the conceptual framework. The objective 1 showing the relationship, to identify the relationship between principals instructional leadership and school effectiveness. So the arrow is showing this relationship and it might be our objective 1. You can relate this objective to the conceptual framework given. Number 2, to analyze the relationship between principals instructional leadership and school culture in the model that is given as objective 2. Number 3, to test the relationship between school culture and school effectiveness. You can see in the framework as objective 3. And number 4, to examine whether the model fits the data for the relationship between the instructional leadership and school effectiveness through the mediation of school culture. That is showing the whole model fitness. So these 4 objectives might be developed based on the conceptual framework you can see in the slide. Following of the research objectives, the next 1.4 number is research questions. As you can see in the slide, 1.4 is given to the research questions. For the research question, we can use the same way as we have used already for the objectives. Just I have changed the objective 1 into the research question 1, objective 2 into the research question 2, and so on for the whole of 4 objectives. You can also develop different research questions from just one research objective as well. It's not necessary to develop only one research question from only one objective. Sometimes the students raise the question that what is necessary, whether the research questions or the hypothesis. Some researchers have suggested both as the research questions and the hypothesis. Some researchers have suggested the hypothesis, and some researchers have suggested the research questions. But my opinion is here is that we might use the research questions for those objectives which needs descriptive statistic, and we might use the hypothesis for those objectives for which we give the decision on the basis of the significance of the data. So that is called inferential statistic. So in my opinion, if we are going to use the descriptive statistic, we might use the research question. If we are going to use the inferential statistic, we might use the hypothesis. So I have changed all the research objectives into research question. For example, for the research objective 1, I have written the research question as what is the relationship between principal instructional leadership and school culture? That is research question 1, as you can see in the conceptual framework. Number 2, what is the relationship between the principal's instructional leadership and school culture? As you can see in the framework written as research question 2. Number 3, what is the relationship between the school culture and school effectiveness? You can see in the framework as research question 3. And similarly, for the research question, for the objective number 4, I have given the research question 4. Does the model fits the data for the relationship between the instructional leadership and school effectiveness through the mediating of school culture? So it is a holistic, it discusses the holistic model. So for model fitness, we can choose an objective, and we can convert the objective into a research question. Following the research question, the next slide you can see given as theoretical framework as numbering with 1.5. In theoretical framework, we just want to check whether the model that we have selected as conceptual framework is supported by any theory and the related literature or not. If it is not supported, we might not go ahead for conducting research. If it has a strong support from the literature, we might go to verify the model as we have selected as conceptual framework. So you can see in this slide the path goal theory of House 1971 is given as leaders go through a path to the goal. That is the theory of House 1971, that the leaders go through a path to their goals. So here I can match my conceptual framework with this path goal theory. That is, the leader word might be changed into instructional leadership. The path, that is the school culture, as we have taken as mediator, and school effectiveness, that is our goal. So our conceptual framework might have like theoretical background or support from the literature. In this slide you can see the conceptual framework is 1.6. Conceptual framework that we have already discussed in the first video and this video as well, and you can check in the slides given already you have seen in this video. The conceptual framework is followed, is written after the theoretical framework in the proposal. So, in this slide, you can see the same conceptual framework as we have discussed many times already. After this conceptual framework, we might give definitions of the terms we have used or we are going to use in our research. For example, the term instruction leadership, that is our variable, or you can say as independent variable, and the school effectiveness you can consider as a dependent variable, the school culture as mediator, and demographic variables that you have to choose for your study. So we discuss all the terms here, that what we mean from these terms. The next session of the chapter number 1 for the research proposal, that is 1.7, significance of the study. It is very important. For example, if someone is going to conduct research and taking a lot of time or having some expenses on the research, there should be some significance of this research for the stakeholders. For example, if we are going to conduct research on school effectiveness, so what will be its effects or its benefits for the stakeholders? So it is very important. In the next slide, I have given at least 3 significance of the study that should be assured by the authors. If these were found, you can go freely to conduct your research, and these 3 parameters are enough for your research that is showing the significance of the study. Number 1 is empirical contribution. So it's showing what is the empirical contribution. So in our research, if my population is teacher and if my data is primary data, I am collecting, I'll be going to collect through the tool or questionnaire from the teachers. So the data that we receive for a research, that is an empirical contribution because the data is primary data. Number 2, what would be its theoretical contribution? We have to check for each research we are going to conduct. So based on the theoretical contribution, this research is formative hypothesis. That is, we have already given the research questions are hypothesis, elementism. We will be going to develop a research tool, that is elementism. Number 3 is descriptive theories and taxonomies. That is, descriptive theories means which is not finally proved but a theory has developed, and conceptual theories constructs. Number 4 is broken axiomatic theory. Number 5 is number 6 is axiomatic theory. So the broken axiomatic theory and axiomatic theory have its difference, and in the broken axiomatic theory only we consider application, while at last number 6, the axiomatic theory, it is proved, the research proves itself as a theory, because many times if it applies in the different situation in different context, and the results if we are getting the same results, we can say that it is now an axiomatic theory. Number 3 is demographic contribution. Every research have its demographic contribution as well. For example, if I am going to conduct research in Pakistani context, so I should check that what will be the benefit of my research for the Pakistanis. In this slide, you can see as 1.8 delimitation. In delimitation, we delimit our study to some area or some population, because sometimes we can't study all the population, we can't study all the physical area. So due to time constraints and some physical considerations or even some expenses consideration, we can't go to study all the population, all the physical area or any vast area. So we delimit the study to some areas or some people. that we can consider as the population of the study. So, for example, if I'm going to conduct the research for school effectiveness, so my focus will be the school teachers on secondary level. So there are different types of teachers on secondary level, that are male teachers, female teachers, and secondary schools of the government sector. That similarly on the public sector, private sector, sorry, on the private sector, there should be also some female and male. Some teachers might be from rural areas, some teachers might be from urban areas. So I might delimit, or any researcher might delimit, if they want their study to some population or some physical area, and might leave other area with a solid reason. Thank you very much for watching part 2 of the proposal development. We have discussed the chapter number 1. And the next part of the proposal development, that will be part 3. We will discuss the chapter 2, or ongoing parts of the research proposal. Thank you very much for your time, and welcome always to the EduFil.